The metal door slammed shut with a heavy sound. Inside the dark chamber, the air was cold and smelled of rust and blood. She fell to her knees. Her name was Mara. Her right hand was bleeding badly. A deep cut ran across her palm. Red drops slowly fell to the metal floor. Outside the thick glass wall, alien soldiers stood watching. Their tall, armored bodies were still, but their glowing eyes moved with interest. One of them spoke in a low voice. "She won't last 5 minutes." Another replied, "The cub has not eaten in 3 days." Inside the chamber, Mara heard none of this clearly. Her ears were ringing. Her heart was beating fast. She tried to breathe slowly. The chamber was almost dark. Only a weak blue light flickered from the ceiling. And then she saw it. 2 glowing white eyes in the far corner. Small, low to the ground. Watching her. She did not move. The creature stepped forward slowly. It was smaller than she expected. Not a full-grown beast. A cub. Its fur was bright orange, but dirty. Its body was thin. Its ribs were slightly visible. It looked young, maybe not fully grown, but there was something wild in its eyes. It growled. Low, deep, warning. Mara's hand trembled, but she did not pull it back. Blood continued to drip from her palm onto the floor. The cub's nose twitched. It smelled the blood. Outside, one of the soldiers leaned closer to glass. "This is where it happens," he said quietly. Inside, the cub moved closer. Step by step, slow, careful. Its claws clicked softly against the metal floor. Mara could run, but she knew it would be useless. The chamber was sealed. There was nowhere to hide. So she did something no one expected. She slowly lowered herself into a sitting position. She did not look into its eyes as a threat. She did not scream. She simply whispered very softly, "It's okay." The cub stopped. Its head tilted slightly. The growling became louder. It was only a few steps away now. Close enough for her to see the small scars on its nose. Close enough to see that it was not just angry. It was scared, hungry, confused. The cub moved its head closer to her bleeding hand. Mara felt its warm breath on her skin. Outside, the soldiers held their breath. "This is it," one of them muttered. The cub's tongue slowly touched her wound. It licked the blood. Mara flinched slightly, but did not pull away. The cub licked again. Then suddenly, it growled louder, but not at her. Its head snapped toward the metal door behind her. Its ears flattened. Its body stiffened. Mara turned slowly. She heard something. A heavy thud, far down the corridor outside the chamber. The alien soldiers outside looked at each other. "That's not possible," one whispered. Another loud bang echoed through the hallway. The lights flickered. Inside the chamber, the cub moved. Not backward, not away. It stepped in front of Mara, between her and the door. Its small body lowered into a defensive stance. Its fur rose slightly. It growled again, this time deeper, stronger, protective. Mara stared at it in shock. Why was it not attacking her? Why was it guarding her? Another explosion shook the hallway. Dust fell from the ceiling. The soldiers outside suddenly looked nervous. Something breached the outer cells. One shouted. Inside the cage, Mara's heart pounded harder. The cub did not look at her anymore. It was focused only on the door. The metal surface trembled slightly. Another heavy impact. Closer now. Mara slowly moved her uninjured hand and gently touched the cub's back. For a second, it froze. The growl paused. Then it continued, but it did not bite her. It did not move away. It allowed her hand to stay there. Outside, one soldier whispered in disbelief, "It's bonding." Another loud crash. The corridor lights went dark for a second. Emergency red lights turned on. The chamber was now glowing red. The cub's white eyes shone brighter in the red light. The metal door in front of them bent inward slightly. Something big was on the other side. Something much larger than a cub. The soldiers stepped back from the glass. "Open the chamber," one shouted. "We can't," another answered. "System is locked." Inside, Mara could hear heavy breathing from beyond the door. Not the cub's breathing. Something else. Something massive. The cub crouched lower. Its growl turned into a sharp, warning snarl. Mara swallowed hard. She realized something terrifying. The cub had not been placed in this cage to kill her. She had been placed here as bait. Another violent slam hit the door. The metal cracked. The cub stepped forward again, standing between her and the breaking door. Small, thin, but ready, Mara whispered softly. You don't have to. The cub did not look back. It only growled louder. The final impact shook the entire chamber. The door frame bent. A deep roar echoed from the hallway. The red emergency lights flickered violently. Outside, the soldiers began shouting orders. Inside, Mara and the cub stood alone, waiting. And then, the first piece of the metal door tore open, and something huge moved in the darkness beyond. The broken metal door screamed as it bent inward. A massive claw forced its way through the crack. The chamber lights flickered red and white. Dust fell from the ceiling. Outside the glass wall, the alien soldiers stepped back. One of them whispered in fear, "That is not from this sector." Inside the cage, Mara could not breathe. The cub did not move back. It stepped forward. Its small body looked even smaller in front of the bending steel door. Another violent hit. The door exploded inward. Metal pieces flew across the floor. And then it entered. The creature was enormous, twice the height of the chamber. Black armored skin, thick muscles, burning yellow eyes. It was not a cub. It was a full-grown war beast, a predator made for battle. Its heavy breathing filled the room. It saw Mara first. Its lips curled back, showing rows of sharp teeth. It stepped forward, slow, certain, hungry. The cub growled loudly, a sharp, fearless sound. The giant beast paused. Its eyes shifted downward. It noticed the cub standing in front of the human. The smaller predator lowered its body, fur raised, teeth exposed. It was not afraid. It was warning. Mara felt fear like ice in her chest. She grabbed a broken piece of metal from the floor with her uninjured hand. Her bleeding hand still dripped red. The giant beast sniffed the air. Blood. Weak prey. Easy kill. It took another step. The cub suddenly moved. Not backward. Forward. It let out a powerful roar, louder than its small body should allow. The sound echoed strangely, deep, ancient. For a split second, the giant beast hesitated. Outside the chamber, one soldier stared at the monitors. "That frequency," he muttered. "It carries alpha coding." Another soldier shook his head. "Impossible. It's only a cub." Inside, the giant beast swung its massive claw. The cub jumped sideways. Fast. Too fast for something its size. The claw smashed into the wall, leaving deep cracks. The cub attacked. It leaped onto the giant beast's shoulder, teeth sinking into thick, armored skin. The giant roared in anger. It slammed its body against the wall. The cub fell hard to the floor. Mara screamed, "No!" The beast turned toward the cub, ready to crush it. Without thinking, Mara ran forward. She slammed the sharp metal rod into the beast's side. It barely hurt it, but it distracted it. The giant creature turned toward her instead. Its burning eyes locked onto her face. Now she was the target. The cub slowly stood up. Its small body trembled, but it did not run. It looked at Mara, and something changed. Its growl was no longer just anger. It was choice. It chose her. The giant beast lunged at Mara. She froze. But before the claws could reach her, the cub launched itself again, this time aiming for the beast's face. It bit into one of its eyes. The chamber filled with a terrible roar. The giant beast swung wildly. Mara pulled the cub away just in time. She wrapped her arms around its small body and rolled across the floor. The giant beast smashed into the far wall. The entire chamber shook. Outside, alarms blared. Emergency teams were trying to override the system, but the door would not open. Inside the red flashing lights, the cub stood again, breathing heavily. Its white eyes were glowing brighter now, stronger. The giant beast was injured, one eye bleeding, but it was not finished. It charged again, this time faster, more violent. The cub stepped forward one last time, but this time it did not attack. It stood still, its body straightened, its small chest expanded. and it released a sound. Not a roar, not a growl, a command. A deep, vibrating sound that shook the floor itself. The giant beast froze mid-step. Its body trembled. Its head lowered slightly. Outside the chamber, the soldiers stared in shock. "It's not just a cub," one whispered. "It carries royal alpha blood." Inside, the giant beast slowly backed away, its aggression fading. It did not attack again. It lowered itself to the ground. Submissive, the cub stood tall, small, but dominant. Mara looked at it in disbelief. The cub turned slowly toward her. Its glowing eyes softened. It walked back to her side and gently pressed its head against her bleeding hand, not licking, not feeding, protecting. Outside the chamber, the soldiers were silent. Everything had changed. The human was no longer bait. She was bonded, and when a royal alpha bonds, it is forever. Suddenly, the emergency locks released. The chamber door began to open. Armed alien guards rushed in, weapons raised. The cub instantly moved in front of Mara again, growling, warning them. The lead commander slowly lowered his weapon. His voice was careful. "Do not fire." The cub's eyes never left the soldiers. Mara placed her hand gently on its head. "It's okay," she whispered again. The commander looked at her with new understanding. "You were supposed to die," he said quietly. Mara looked at the cub. "But I didn't." The cub growled one last time, not in anger, but in promise. And somewhere deep in the facility, something ancient had awakened, something far bigger than one fight, something that would change their world. The chamber door stood open. Red emergency lights still flashed. Smoke floated in the air. The giant war beast lay injured on the floor, breathing slowly. Not dead, but defeated. The alien soldiers did not move. They were not looking at the beast. They were looking at the cub, small, orange, standing in front of the human woman, growling softly, protecting her. The commander slowly stepped forward. He removed his helmet. His voice was calm, but there was fear behind it. "That cub is not ordinary." Mara did not answer. She kept her hand on the cub's head. The cub's fur slowly lowered, but its glowing white eyes remained sharp. Suddenly, the entire facility shook, harder than before. The lights went out. Darkness swallowed everything. Then backup power activated. Blue emergency lights flickered on. A soldier ran toward the commander. "Commander, the outer wall has been breached." "By what?" The soldier swallowed. "By a fleet." The commander's face turned pale. "Not pirates." The soldier shook his head slowly. "Royal War Fleet." Silence filled the chamber. Mara felt the cub stiffen under her hand. The cub lifted its head. It was listening. Far away, deep in the sky, a massive roar echoed through the air. Not from the facility. From above. From something enormous. Outside the broken chamber. Heavy footsteps began moving through the hallway. But these were not chaotic. They were organized, disciplined. Armored royal guards entered the corridor. Their armor was white and silver, glowing with royal markings. They were not here to attack. They were here to reclaim. The commander stepped back slowly. "It cannot be," he whispered. Inside the chamber, the cub suddenly stepped away from Mara. It walked toward the open door. Not scared, not confused. Certain. The royal guards reached the chamber entrance. They stopped immediately. And then, all of them knelt, weapons down, heads lowered. The commander froze. "This is impossible." One of the royal guards spoke loudly. "The royal heir has been located." Mara's heart stopped for a moment. "Royal heir?" The cub turned its head slightly. Its glowing eyes were different now. Not just white. Brighter. Ancient. Powerful. The giant war beast on the floor slowly lowered its head completely in submission. Even injured, it recognized the truth. The cub was not a prisoner. It was not bait. It was the future ruler of their species. The Royal Alpha. And it had chosen her. The lead royal guard stepped closer, but very slowly. "We have searched for the heir for cycles," he said carefully. The cub growled. "Low. Warning." The guard immediately stopped. Mara realized something important. The cub was not going to leave her, not without a choice. The commander of the facility looked terrified now. He understood the danger. They had locked the royal heir in a cage. They had starved it. They had used it for testing. That was treason. The cub slowly walked back to Mara. It pressed its head against her leg. Then something unexpected happened. The cub sat down, right beside her, like a guardian, like a king beside his chosen. The royal guards looked at each other. The lead guard spoke softly. The bond has been sealed. Mara blinked. Bond. The guard nodded. Royal Alpha bonds only once in a lifetime. Silence. Then heavy explosions echoed from outside the facility. The royal fleet had begun takeover. This place would fall within minutes. The commander dropped to his knees. He knew there was no escape. Mara looked down at the cub. "You could leave," she whispered softly. The cub looked up at her. Its glowing eyes were calm now. Not wild, not angry. It stood, then did something no one expected. It walked toward the royal guards. The guards stiffened. The cub stopped halfway, then turned its head back toward Mara, waiting. The message was clear. "Come with me." The lead royal guard spoke gently. "You are under royal protection now." Mara hesitated. She had been alone for so long, used, thrown away, locked in a cage to die. But now, the most powerful being in this species had chosen her, not because she was strong, not because she was dangerous, but because she did not run, because she did not fight in fear, because she touched a monster with kindness. The cub walked back to her, then lightly nudged her hand with its head, just like before, not licking blood, not growling, just trust. Mara stood slowly. The cub immediately stood beside her. The royal guard stepped aside, making a path, not for a prisoner, for royalty. As they walked through the broken hallway, alien workers and soldiers lowered their heads. The royal fleet ships filled the sky outside, massive, glowing, dominant. The facility that once held cages would now answer to the Alpha, and beside the Alpha walked a human woman, bleeding, but unbroken. The commander was taken away in chains. The war beast was transported under royal command. The cages were opened, and for the first time in many cycles, the royal heir returned home. But it did not sit on a throne alone. It stood beside her, the one it chose. Final line. They locked her in as food, but she walked out as the Alpha's bond. And from that day forward, no one dared to cage a human again.